start a YouTube channel. Alright, sounds like fun. Username. What sort of name should I give myself? Of course! Perfect.
Hi, this is George Everington from Headphones UK.
My, doesn't time just fly by? Alright, me darlings, and welcome to my 10-year anniversary special. Yes, I'm in no way indulging my ego in this episode. Now, some of you probably don't know what I'm talking about right now, since excluding how a lot of my old videos aren't on my channel anymore, I've got no videos that go as far back as 2008. But that's not what I'm celebrating here today. I'm celebrating the 10-year anniversary from when I first started this YouTube channel, because without that little action, I certainly wouldn't be here talking to you today. I dread to think what could have happened if I didn't make my YouTube channel all the way back then. I mean, I could be unemployed, living in my parents' house, single, and talking to myself. I mean, how much of a loser would I be then? Despite that, it's still amazing to think how far not only I've come since first making my channel, but also how far YouTube has come in general. Back then it was mostly a little hobby and interest site that didn't have much to it. Videos would rarely go above 10 minutes. It was trying to be a social network as much of a video site with the friends system, and making a living off of YouTube alone was almost unheard of. Oh sure, there were stars on the site such as Smosh, Epic Rap Battles and Will It Blend and other channels, but the idea of making your sole living off of making videos on this silly little site was an insane prospect, though granted that notion has come back a bit more with the issues that YouTube's been going through lately. But regardless, the main video that got me into the world on online video making was the one and only Angry Video Game Nerd. During a time in around about mid-2007, I started really getting into the old 80s Ninja Turtle series again, having forgotten about it for many years at that point and reminded about it by finding an old magazine about it in a doctor's waiting room, which ironically was the exact same hospital I was born in. So a random event in the same place I was brought into this world effectively made me what I am today. Freud would have a fun time with that one. So with my interest reinvigorated about this show, I was browsing videos on YouTube about the old Ninja Turtle series, and after coming across a few episodes, toy commercials and parodies, I found myself looking at a video by a man calling himself the Angry Nintendo Nerd, as that was his name at the time. Intrigued due to how I was a fan of Nintendo, I watched it, and from there I was hooked. I admittedly can't really remember why I loved it at the time, but something about James Rolfe's passionate delivery and style of filmmaking that I had never seen before was just mind-blowing to me.
You can just walk over it. Instead, make way for the missile balloons, flying robot head, those little butterfly things, Mr. Fireman, cow a fucking piece of dog shit.
And yeah, after 12 years the shtick has run a little bit dry for me, but I still love watching everything he does, even the stuff that's not that great, because he's my creative hero. And yeah, I'm one of those people who believes that no good comes from hero worship, but just in terms of his craft, he's the guy I take the most inspiration from, with the exception of Rick Mayall, of course.
So let's talk bollocks! That's all we ever do!
And from there, the whole world of online riffing was opened to me. Other personalities like the Nostalgia Critic, Linkara, the Cinema Snob, Film Brain, Welshie, the Hardcore Kid, all of these shows and more entertained me and inspired me to do what they did. I wanted to entertain others whilst also bringing attention to things that entertained me. But before I did any of that, between around about 2009 and 2013, I mostly uploaded any random video that I had the inkling to make, such as this.
Hi, this is George Everington from Headphones UK, and today we're going to be causing the British version of the Joker's uncensored fatality.
I couldn't even be bothered to get dressed out of my pajamas. I was casual blogging before, so I made it cool. Yeah, a lot of my early videos were pretty bad, and some of the earliest I haven't even re-uploaded from when I first deleted them years ago, due to how it's not really worth it. They've basically got nothing interesting in them. The camera work is so amateurish you can barely see anything, and, well, it's soul-crushingly embarrassing for me to watch. But I still have re-uploaded some of my oldest videos to my Vintage Headphones UK channel, which you can find here to see my humble and horrendous beginnings. Most of the videos I made before I started Headphones UK reviews were simple sketch videos, which was actually the biggest video format on the site before Let's Plays became a thing. Thanks, Smosh. Fan-made music videos using footage from movies, shows and video games, and just me doing whatever I felt like filming, such as smashing Easter eggs or destroying snowmen. Who's walking in the air now? I still love some of these early videos, even if they are mostly rather amateurish, but a lot of them help me find my footing as a filmmaker, and one of the most important things about finding your style and method in the media world, regardless if it's filmmaking or any other sort of craft, is through experimentation. So to be able to do that, plus get feedback from it, was a fantastic way to get a head start in the business. Then again, I'm not quite sure how the comment "sucks pig dick" actually helps me out as a filmmaker, but hey, it's feedback either way. But it wasn't until 2014 when I was reminded of a little show called The Animals of Farthing Wood. While I was taking a stroll in Stamner Park at university and spying a carved log with images of woodland creatures on it, I decided that I had both the subject and material to start a review show, which I still continue to this day, on the same bed in the same bedroom. More or less. While I had dabbled in reviews before, they were rather basic and down to earth, nothing too complex or rehearsed. In fact, most of my reviews had no scripts, I was just talking off the top of my head. In fact, the only pre-Farthingwood Reviews review, which is a grammatical nightmare to say, to be honest, was the Starlight Express review, which is ironically still one of my most popular videos. Now, I think most of that comes from Germany, and that's because the Starlight Express musical is really popular over there. Ich bin ein Starlighter. But on the 27th of August 2014, with the video starting off with an awkward and creepy sigh, my new format that I've been doing the last 4 years began, with various ups and downs in quality, from both the things that I reviewed and my own video quality. I've been doing reviews ever since, and it's by far gotten me more attention and recognition than anything I've ever done online. And while sadly I have been typecast a bit as the Farthing Wood guy, I like to think that people do watch my videos besides those ones. Hell, my most viewed videos are a list of the best Roald Dahl books, a video about the most obscure pieces of Doctor Who history, a video that I'm surprised hadn't yet been made, and the best episodes of an Adult Swim cartoon series. And just check out the dislikes on that one. And while I don't mind if people bash my videos, since it does allow me to learn from my mistakes and come better, the thought that I made something that people weren't entertained by does depress me a little bit. And I know that it sounds extremely overlording and self-indulgent. What I mean by that is that I make my videos to entertain people, and if people say they didn't like my videos, it makes me feel as if I failed at that. And I know it's impossible to please everyone, especially on the internet, but I try to entertain as many people as possible, and I'd like to think that over the 10 years I've been making videos online that I've managed to do that, but a lot of that of course is down to you guys. I can't stress enough how much I appreciate everyone who has helped Headphones UK reviews become as popular as it is, from the people who have actively assisted on this show to those who have just watched it. And while I'm still mostly languishing in relative obscurity, the reviewer community as a large, and like I said, a lot of people know me more for my Farthingwood reviews than anything else I've done, and with the recent adpocalypse of YouTube, the chances of me actually making a living off of this are virtually non-existent, I still love doing this show, and I've always appreciated the feedback I get, even if it is negative, since they either do tell me what I can do to improve my videos, or if it's just a troll comment, I can get a laugh out of the thought that posting that comment was probably the highlight of that troll's week. Which I don't know if that makes me sad, him sad, or both, but either way, no one comes out on top in that scenario. Regardless, thank you one and all for helping me go this far, since without you, I probably wouldn't have kept this channel going for as long as it has, and I can only hope that I can entertain more people with my reviews and opinions, since I do this not for the fame, the money, or even to rile people up. I do it for you, and to make people happy. That's all I've ever wanted to do, and I like to think that I've achieved that, and here's to hoping more years of me doing that. But now, enough of this emotional self-indulgent crap. I've still got a review to do, and for my 10-year anniversary I thought I'd do something special, and I had a lot of things to choose from in that regard, but how's about I go for a show that I've been wanting to review for years, and has a catchphrase so infamous that even people who haven't seen this show have heard of it.
I hate sprouts!
Oh yes, mein Freunds, I am going for the tearjerker that is, The Forgotten Toys. The Forgotten Toys is an animated series that has the very popular narrative of toys that happen to be alive and are travelling to find their way back home. Oh, how dare you rip off Toy Story 10 years before it was made! Actually, while most people will think of Toy Story in regards to this very popular narrative, it's of course not the first to do it, not by a long shot. Though while I can't honestly think of what was the first movie or TV show to do this premise, we had books and shows about talking and living toys for nearly 100 years prior to this, with things such as the Faraway Tree and the Raggedy Ann and Andy's franchise. But the first motion picture I can think of to do this story was the film Raggedy Ann and Andy: A Musical Adventure from 1977. Though, in fairness, that movie is so weird that many people probably just thought it wasn't real, just a leftover memory from an acid wave from the 1970s. Oh, you think I'm joking? Watch this.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go?
I've been looking for happiness all my life.
Why are you doing all this to us?
It's easy.
With all the stuff that the late 70s gave us, the same decade that gave us Hunter S. Thompson and Robin Williams starting their careers, I don't think anyone would question the possibility of this just being a forgotten acid fantasy. While we don't know who came up with this story originally, you could hardly call Toy Story a rip-off of either Raggedy Ann or The Forgotten Toys. While all three owe things to each other, out of the holy trinity of living toy stories, and possibly the missing fourth, that's neither here nor there. Forgotten Toys is by far the most emotional and down-to-earth of the three, and there are a lot of reasons for that, and to properly explain how, we're going to have to start from the beginning with this show's pilot, the TV movie called The Forgotten Toys: The Day After Christmas, which aired on Boxing Day of 1995. And oh me, oh my, is it both unrelentingly tear-jerking and heartwarming. You'll be wet and warm. Forget I said that. We start off with a scene where a teddy bear and a doll have been thrown out the day after Christmas by their respective families. The bear is naturally rather upset, understandably, but the doll seems to be taking this on the chin a lot more.
I'm shouting at that house, my house.
You're wasting your time.
Rubbish.
What you say is what you are.
You think that's bad? Just be thankful you weren't around when they became teenagers. All that angst and moodiness is not something you want to be subject to when you can't move or defend yourself. Believe me, I know. So the toys sit around in their bins for a while discussing why they've been chucked out, when suddenly...
Whoa! Hey, what's going on?
Holy hell, it took Toy Story 3 movies to get this far. We're doing it in the first 5 minutes. So the pair managed to escape the dust cart, but Teddy sadly loses an arm in the process.
You could have been killed.
I'm very attached to my arm.
Well, your arm isn't very attached to you.
I'll look on the bright side, Teddy. One arm and a dry acerbic sense of humour. You'll be a shoo-in to host the last leg now. Hell, you actually look and sound just like Alex Brooker. You will definitely fit right on in on that show.
Last time I saw Take the Knee, it was on some of my doctor's notes.
So the doll gives the teddy a hand, as it were, and fixes his arm.
I bet you're called Teddy.
How did you know that?
Ha, just a guess. My children called me Annie.
Just Annie, not Anne. We are so not plagiarising another character with a similar name and design here.
You reckon our kids meant to throw us out?
Of course they did.
But why do they want to do that?
Look. They're the reason we've been thrown away. They're all new and exciting.
Well, yeah, if kids are really excited by really stock Poundland style toys, what kids really want these days are toys that can be two things in one, all rode off the back of imported animes. So they decide to do a serve return to their old owners, in that if they've got new toys, they'll get new kids. And so they set off to find them, but instead come across this. Jesus Christ, and I thought Farthing Wood was dark and depressing. They just straight up made a doggy snuff film right there. Which I don't think this is the first of. But thankfully the dog just barely manages to survive, and Annie also helps patch him up.
You keep doing that, you won't have no dress left.
Whoa now, let's not start thinking about that, otherwise this special will have an 18 rating. This isn't made by Ralph Bakshi here.
There you are.
Thank you. You've saved my life.
Yes, because a dirty old rag around a slightly sprained ankle will be perfect for countering all of those broken bones, internal bleeding and organ damage.
Why didn't you come and stay with me?
I'm not going to no doghouse.
Suit yourself.
Follow me. The name's Chauncey.
Bizarrely la-di-da name for a dog, isn't it? Though I must say, his voice is just simply enchanting. He must be played by some old respected thespian or something, like Derek Jacobi or Sir Ian McKellen. Ah, shit, there's another old and beloved classic kid show that's been ruined by an old pervert. I guess you'd expect nothing more from Sigmund Freud's grandson. No, seriously, that is the grandson of the Sigmund Freud. Well, let's ignore that bit for now, and thankfully this character didn't become a recurring one in the series, if only because he and Annie's voice actors would have probably argued over which one had the sexiest voice. And who does voice her, you might ask, along with Teddy for that matter? You would never guess in a million years, I'll tell you later on. So Chauncey takes the pair back to his digs, a basement under a hotel, and gives them hostel for the time being. Teddy tries to show that in order to get new kids, they'll need to act more like the toys they saw on TV that their kids were into. Now, unless you've got the ability to get drunk and say vulgar things while sounding like Peter Griffin, I don't think that's going to work. But then Annie brings up the good point that
We are what we are. We can't be anything else.
Wasn't it Descartes who said, I am what I am?
No, it was Popeye the Sailor Man.
We don't have a home. Not anymore. All we've got is each other.
Once you had a dream.
wow, Annie must be one of those toys that has a multiple voice box thing inside of her, since she sounds nothing like she did earlier. Okay, in fairness, this is a really heartfelt song, even if the lack of build-up, contextless lyrics and how Annie's voice spontaneously changed into the woman singing it does make it feel really unexpected. But then again, this is a Christmas special, so we need a song sequence in there somewhere. It's like a law. Oh, and check out this cameo. Sneaky! With all the subtlety of a bullet between the eyes. Hopefully the ending to this special won't be as wrist-splittingly depressing as that one. That's actually quite an impressive feat for something that's just made out of cloth and stuffing. But after the song is over, Chauncey goes up to the kitchen to get them some breakfast.
Now fetch the sausages, you schnoodles, and today no one snitzes them.
Bloody hell, and I thought the Swedish chef from the Muppets was an offensive stereotype. At least it didn't look like a cross between Louis from The Little Mermaid and Papa John with the voice of Professor Pig from Arkham Knight.
All messed up, inside out. Pig, make her better.
Unfortunately, Chauncey gets captured and tied to a pipe in the kitchen, and through a series of unfortunate events... No, not that one. The basement ends up flooding and the poor toys nearly drown as a result. Which to me brings up the same question I had during the Toy Story movies about how their internal makeup works, since they seem to be able to lose limbs and just have it be a minor inconvenience for them, yet they still need to breathe and seem to have internal organs. Seriously, did nobody else think that when watching the Toy Story movies? But Annie and Teddy manage to escape the flooded basement and come across Not Santa, who patches them up and makes them look all nice and pretty.
Nothing worse than soggy sawdust, is there?
Said Saint Nick is also voiced by Manuel of Fawlty Towers fame, if you can believe it or not.
Every day, meine sausages is schnitzing.
Which now just gives me the amazing mental image of Manuel in Santa's sleigh going, I give you all sausages, or I know nothing about the horse. He does tell them that there's a school nearby and they decide to go there to find new kids. But in heading there, they get into some trouble while going through a junkyard, and thus making not Santa's fixing up of them completely and utterly useless. Curse you, Manuel! Made even worse by how a bunch of dogs then show up. But anyway, they look boned until Teddy does this.
Right, you leave her alone. Teddy bears are directly descended from the President of the United States, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt, and that's why I'm called Teddy. You mess with me, you're messing with the Constitution of the US of A.
I mean, you can't prove he's lying now, can you? Sadly, even if that is true, it doesn't quite work.
Looks like we're history now, pigtails.
It's Chauncey!
You know, after seeing a red and blue fox beat the fleas off of each other with blood and fur flying everywhere, this doesn't quite do it for me anymore.
Maybe I'm not too old for this.
So Chauncey gives the two a lift over to the school, which, by the way, what school is open on a few days after Christmas? Granted, we don't know how long it's been since the special started, but I can only imagine it's been a few days if this guy is Santa and he's still hanging around. But if he isn't and he is there in the new year, why is there snow on the ground? This is England. The snow lasts about 30 minutes and then disappears once the new year comes around. It should just be rain and muck on the ground at this point. Then again, this special's been depressing enough without that going on.
Do you think any of these children will want us?
Beautiful doll like you, of course they will.
What about me? You think I'll find a house where they never have sprouts and the telly's on all the time?
Ah, you'll be looking for a house in Leeds then, Teddy. What? What?
You're not bad for a dog.
Goodbye, Teddy.
How can you cry? You don't have any tear ducts.
Our new kids are coming.
Good luck, Teddy.
Good luck, Annie.
You call me by my real name. You call me Annie.
So the children come out of school and they take Annie and Teddy away to their new homes. They're lucky the kids that they came across were that kind and innocent. If that happened when I was at school, Teddy would have been rolled up and used as a football for the rest of his life, and Annie would have had her hair set on fire in chemistry class just for a laugh. Or was that just my school that did stuff like that? So that was the TV movie / pilot, and like I said, it was unrelentingly heartstring tugging, which no one ever mentions. That's a very painful thing to do, tugging on a person's heartstrings. What kind of sadist would do that? And I do find it slightly depressing, but much like the snowman, it is very endearing, and it holds up a lot more than I remember it being, which brings us on to the actual show. In the first episode, Teddy and Annie get lost in a baggage mix-up at an airport. So they must have been flying on every flight I've ever taken, ever! And this sets up the premise for the series, the pair going on a long journey to get themselves back to their owners, and the episodes are the people, places and scenarios they come across on their journey. And the best way to describe them? Weird. Very, very weird. I found the full show to be very much like a Pinky and the Brain kind of setup, taking these two lovable characters and putting them into any scenario they could think of and just having fun with it. Now, when the concept is a pair of rats trying to take over the world, you can expect odd things happening, especially when it's as comedic as Pinky and the Brain, but a rather basic concept like toys finding their way home, you wouldn't expect so much odd stuff to be happening, but some of the episodes almost rivaled that of their raggedy namesake. Like, how about an episode with a war amongst toys because of a mishap with a missing toy soldier, or toys thwarting a jewellery heist, or them stealing Magician's magic wand and having a Mickey Mouse Magician's Apprentice moment by making random things come to life, or Teddy recounting the times he was both a secret agent and a cowboy, or the toys being washed up on a secret island, or the toys taking shelter in a church and finding an owl in it. Wait, hang on, that last one sounded kind of familiar. Was there a fox, badger, mole, snake, weasel and a bunch of other animals in there as well? Regardless, while the concept of toys coming alive is a tad surreal in and of itself, it's a concept that's been around for a long time in terms of storytelling, so it's not really that jarring anymore. But even so, I don't quite see the connection from this
Ow, my bum!
to this.
Oh, nice of you to drop in.
Abracadabra. Here's my spell. I need someone to help as well.
to stop children being horrible to gonks.
Mission control to Alien. Have a good flight.
Well, either way, despite how bizarre some of these episodes could be, the charm of the tone, animation, and especially the amazing vocal performances still made even the most trippy episodes feel very down to earth. And who did those vocal performances, you may ask? Well, it's time to reveal their identities.
I'm through with taking falls. I'm bouncing off the walls. Without that gun, I'd have some fun. I'd kick you in the...
My best friend by my side, my trusty old TARDIS, and of course, my sonic screwdriver. Oh, look, it's got 3 settings.
The Mafia. I've shit 'em.
She was sweet. She said, "You look wonderful. I think you're wonderful." But I then just melted away again.
Oh yes, believe it or not, these were the main stars of the show. Annie, aka Pigtails, is played by National Gilf Joanna Lumley, using her dulcet and plim-proper tones to masterfully convey a no-nonsense but affectionate down-on-her-luck doll.
Dolls can't talk. They can sometimes. For someone special.
But of course, the character that everybody remembers is Teddy. Didn't stretch the imagination much with that name, now did they? Played by Eddie Valiant himself, the late great Bob Hoskins, playing pretty much himself really, a grizzled, sarcastic, slightly aggressive but very lovable bear.
I've been pelted with sprouts, had the stuffing shaken out of me, and nearly been eaten alive. A fat lot of help you've been.
Who has a catchphrase that's so iconic it transcends the show itself.
Sprouts! I hate sprouts!
Seriously, you could talk about anybody who actually did watch the show as a kid for hours and they won't remember a thing, but you say that one phrase and then they immediately remember.
I hate sprouts!
I hate sprouts! I hate sprouts!
Sprouts? I hate sprouts!
I hate sprouts.
I hate sprouts.
Or, to quote a terrible Christmas ident, nobody ever likes a sprout.
Sprouts are actually quite tasty. You're all a bunch of unrefined idiots.
I hate sprouts.
I hate sprouts.
I don't like sprouts.
Well, actually, no it isn't. Maybe I got this and the Dick and Dom review mixed up and did them on the wrong day. Regardless, I do really enjoy watching this show again, even if it's not got a lot left for adults. In a very subtle way, it does have something that's actually great for any kid to watch. In terms of the animation, it's rather basic to be honest. The pilot is quite well animated, with good designs, motion fluency, and very well made backgrounds. I never get tired of watercolours and cartoons, but it's nothing that will blow you away to be honest. And when we get to the series, naturally due to the greater amount of hours thrown into the series compared to the pilot, they had to reduce some of the more detailed elements with slightly more stiff motions and everything looking more flat and faded. It's not bad, just a bit underwhelming, but I don't think that the animation was the best part of this show anyway. It's the way that it appeals to kids and even arguably adults with its use of showing the world through a toy's eyes, but not only that, rejected toy's eyes. Toys are something that are very important to even the youngest child. I mean, I've had these since the day I was born and I don't plan on ever letting them go. But much like Toy Story, this show expressed the tragically disposable nature of these things that are, sad to say to most, just commodities. But of course to a child, toys can be more than that, so much more. And while you may argue that that's like a form of capitalist hypnotism for the young, it's hard to deny that toys are the things that transition us from newborns to actual people. Our window into the world that we will eventually inherit. Playing with toys allows us to better understand emotions, stories, storytelling, forms, shapes, colours, senses, and all sorts of things. For many of us, it's our first tactile experience, but what do you do when you outgrow these things? Of course, toys are our world as kids, but when we grow older, the world becomes our toy, and we have no need for them anymore. And while admittedly this show suffers from the same issue as Toy Story, it doesn't really say how we should treat our toys after we're done with them. That is until Toy Story 3. It does show that a toy, in many ways, is always there for you, even if you're not there for it. They're the non-living things that help you understand who you are and what the world is, even if we think we don't need them anymore. And a lot of the stories involving about how the toys help out people, young or old, is a perfect representation of that.
It's only a good present if you love the person you give it to, and that person loves you. Love is what makes children happy.
Though admittedly this show made me question more about toys than it probably should have, given it talked about things like fat, tears and breath as if they were inherent to toys. Which made me more scared to play with toys than to actually play with them. Never sleep on something that can cry, that's my motto. But yeah, this show may not be perfect, but I think it's actually the perfect companion to Toy Story to represent the importance of what toys are, especially the rustic old toys we all get when we're young, regardless of generation, to both kids and adults. Which is actually kind of fitting that Bob Hoskins was in this show, because that's essentially how they treated the old cartoon characters from Roger Rabbit. Though I guess we can all count our blessings that Annie wasn't made to be like Jessica Rabbit. Wait, hang on a minute. Voluptuous sexy doll with the voice of Joanna Lumley? I'm not thankful that didn't happen, I'm livid!
That don't rhyme with walls.
No, but this does.
Actually, speaking of that, I also mentioned Raggedy Ann and Andy earlier. Their connection to each other and also Roger Rabbit goes even deeper than that. The director and animator of Raggedy Ann and Andy, Richard Williams, went on to animate Roger Rabbit, which of course had Bob Hoskins in it. This is turning into 6 degrees of Bob Hoskins right now.
Nothing's funny to you, ain't it, Needle Nose?
There were only 2 series made, and sadly no finale either. Whether the writers planned for them to find their owners, or if they wanted to do a Quantum Leap style ending where they'd realise that their purpose is to help people that they come across, I honestly don't know, though the latter would have been a pretty great way to go out.
When it comes to finding a home for other people, there's no problem. Finding our own home, we're rubbish at that.
It's not fair, is it?
But either way, we never did get a proper conclusion to this show. And with Bob Hoskins tragically passing away in 2014, it doesn't look like we'll get another one-off special to conclude this series anytime soon. Though I would love to see that. And while I could see Lumley coming back for this, if they were to do a finale like a Christmas special or something like that, I think it might be better if they switched out the cast. Not to say that I want Lumley to be replaced, but it might just be a bit less jarring if both Annie and Teddy had slightly different voices. And to that regard, I think Joe Clawfield and Ray Winstone would probably be very fitting replacements for the new cast members.
Some of us need to take a long, hard look at ourselves.
The customer who purchased My Story by Danny Minogue also purchased a length of rope and a wobbly chair.
Even if we do never see a proper ending to this show, it had a great run while it lasted, and thankfully, much like Farthing Wood eventually did, the whole series is available on DVD, so you can watch all of the odd but charming adventures all over again. And thus brings me to the end of my 10-year anniversary special, though certainly not the end of my show, as while I have had a lot of trials and tribulations getting to this point in my YouTube career, I can honestly say I've not regretted a single moment of it, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching it as much as I've enjoyed making it. And while I certainly hope to keep this show going for as long as I can, you guys are the people that keep this show going. Every time that you contribute, whether it be actually contributing with me in a video directly or just contributing via community, you make it all worth it. And whether it was positive or negative, it helps me either way. You guys basically are Headphones UK, and I want to thank you all so much for doing an amazing job, as much as I have basically been contributing to this show for so many years and trying to entertain you, and hopefully I have achieved that. But now I've had enough of this. I'm going on the other side to have a bath. Bye. Hey guys, me here one last time, unshaven and a bit dishevelled because I'm bringing this to you at a bit of a late moment's notice, but I'm just here to say one last thank you, and I know that I've said that a lot in this video already, but seriously though, to everybody who has watched this video, my other videos, supported me in some other way, and basically it's just helped me get to where I am today. Thank you all so much. You have made this such an enjoyable experience for me. Even those of you who don't like it and have just been trolling me or just been leaving negative comments, hell, I love you too. You're all amazing. And yeah, this has definitely been a lot of fun doing this very big and ambitious episode to celebrate my 10 years of being on YouTube, and I'm definitely going to be using some of the elements I've used in said episode, and also a few little extra things I've been doing in this little last minute section as well in my future videos. And yes, there will be plenty more of future videos to come, and I'll definitely make them as best as I can, and hopefully even better for you guys. And also, big thanks to everybody who sent in their I Hate Sprouts videos. I had a lot of fun watching those and putting them in the video. They were all amazing. And some of you went so far as to actually do extra takes within the same video, and they were too good to pass up. I just couldn't go without putting them in the video. So even though they weren't in the main montage, those of you who sent in extra takes, they will be on in a little mini compilation right after I've done this little thank you out thingy. So yeah. Thank you all so much for supporting Headphones UK for as long as it's gone. It's still impossible to think that even though I haven't been making videos for the whole 10 years, it's still hard to believe it's been 10 years since I started this actual channel. And while sadly I couldn't find any pictures of what the channel looked like back then because I didn't take any screen caps of it, and the Wayback Machine and Google Cache and Archive.org and all that, they don't have any pictures of them on there either, because yeah, who's going to be taking pictures of some tiny YouTube channel that no one was paying attention to back in 2008? But yeah, it's definitely been one hell of a journey, and of course you have made that journey so amazing for me. But of course said journey is not over yet, and well, hopefully we can all have fun with this journey together, as silly and as cliche as that sounds. It's true. And yeah, so thank you very much, and for those of you who want to see some extra sprouts, here you go.
Sprouts are the worst thing to come out of Brussels since Tintin in Congo.
Hate sprouts.
Even I dislike sprouts. For the purpose of this cameo.
Dear Luke, dinner tonight will consist of sprout soup, followed by sprout salad, and for dessert I think I like it rather unusual sprout crumble. LOL, George. I hate sprouts!
I hate sprouts.
On the one hand, I quite like Brussels sprouts. On the other hand, Bob Hoskins. No contest. This is Jeffrey Kitch saying, Happy 10th anniversary of YouTubing, Headphones UK. And you better be paying me for this, you bastard.
I hate sprouts.